Greetings, comrades. My name is DimAurora, and welcome back to From the Depths, and welcome back to the Project 17 air defense ship. Now, I had recorded an episode on this before, but the footage got corrupted, and I wasn't really happy with the recording in the first place, so it didn't really bother me too much, but now I'm kind of not sure how to catch up. But right off the bat, we completed the stern. It's pretty basic design. It's just a bunch of slopes. You round it off nicely. I have more of a flat stern than most ships, so kind of looks a little bit basic, but that's actually exactly what I was going for. And then I have a divider down the middle. I don't know what these are actually called, but they're quite prevalent. And then this just is alternating slopes of 3, then 2, and then more importantly, probably all of these are spin blocked. So it's pretty basic to set these up. It's just a pipe, a mimic on the second one actually, to give it kind of that supported look like actual drive shaft or propeller shafts would have. And then a nice big propeller. So there are actually 4 propellers on this thing. They're actually slightly angled downwards. If I were to go up here, see that it's angled 1 degree downwards, not all too much, but that still pushes the nose into the water, pushes the bow into the water when this thing is at full speed. So that was one of the things that was accomplished off camera. It's really not all too hard to do that, so I figure you can figure that out on your own. They're all just basic spin blocks, and then it's all figuring out how you want the propeller shaft to look, and then making sure this is facing forward. It says it's building backwards because the propulsion is backwards up there, but it's actually not. It's perfectly fine. It just weirded out because it's on a spin block. But the most important thing I did off camera was actually take this thing and finish off its internals. So, in here, let's right about there. So here's how the compartments of the ADS Project 17 are set up. So this pretty basic setup. I have thicker armor on more important rooms. Actually, I left all of these rooms completely armored for the weight because this thing was very floaty. As you can see, there is lead in the keel back there. But up in front, a basic ammo storage room. I don't know why it cuts it off like this, but it does. Then the gun room, an empty space for some light repair and light buoyancy. Then we have the AI, I'll go over that in a bit. We have the shells of the 76 mils. The engine room, engines are pretty basic. I think I've gone over them already, and it's not like this is a very difficult design. And then the second engine room, and another ammo room. So it's a pretty basic ship. It's not really the hardest thing to do, but we're gonna go in here anyways. Do a quick overview of engines. So this guy's pretty basic here. We have the standard block. This is a 2-row engine. I didn't want anything super powerful, but I still ended up with 5,600 engine power on a ship that needs like 500. So I decided to make it even more efficient. Again, this is 2-row. I filled in most of the spots I could with carburetors, both top and bottom and sides. and then you fill out all the rest with superchargers. Most importantly, you want to make sure that you get good exhaust flow out of all cylinders. So all cylinders are being touched, we'll say. Actually, now that I look at it, these ones are not being touched. So I'll actually do that right now. Let's see, I'll need an no. Which pipe is it? It has been, there it is, a four-way. So just put that down there. Oh look, now we're doing the smart do, not the dumb do. We're gonna zip on up here and do the exact same thing to this one because they're actually just copied and pasted versions of each other because I'm lazy, and if it works, don't fix it. So, now that I'm not being a complete idiot, and all of the cylinders have exhaust, these engines will run even more efficiently, which is fantastic. So we're hopefully going to make the best use out of all these damn superchargers. Moving on, let's see, here are the shells that I use on the 76 mils. One of them is a tracer, but it has less payload, improved accuracy though, so I can't really deny that. 1 in 5 shells on my main guns are tracer. And then I have the standard damage shell, which is frag, 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 and time fuse. I'm going to quickly go in here. You can see 180, 60, 60. So there is a burst effect that will get anything around it if it misses. But most of the frag is focused forward for maximum damage output. Now in here is my AI. It's just a little guy. I didn't really need much for this ship. So we have a mainframe, a few connectors, a card slot, and a transmitter. And a lot of processing cards because I put quite a bit of detection on here if we can see it all light up. So all that blue is stuff that relies on detection. So it needed a few. I needed 10 units of power, so it has 10 units of power. Most important piece is of course the mainframe. I always name it main core, and I always go into the C menu, turn off attacking salvage so that it doesn't waste shells, and it'll automatically be on combat mode. Now, one thing that I have gotten requests for is explanation, what was that? Explanation of how these cards work. So most of the time, if you're building a ship, you're only going to need 1 to 3 cards. Of course, you're going to need the naval AI. I think target prioritization is fantastic, and especially for this one, I needed target prioritization so that it would target aircraft before anything else. And then we have aim point selection, which helps target things such as AI and ammo. But I didn't really need that on this ship, so this only has 2 cards. Now, target prioritization, as you can see, I have this entirely set up for targeting aircraft. In this may look a bit like, oh, whoa, what's going on here? But honestly, you only ever need to change 3. I automatically set all to 0 every time because I don't really care about these and speed. But block, range, and altitude are very important things. Say you want to make a battleship, you're going to want to set value per block through the roof so that it targets the big things first. Then I always have range reduced so that it will target things that are closer. It'll prioritize things that are closer over things that are far. And then altitude, you can set this negative if you want to target or if you want to hunt submarines, or positive if you want to hunt aircraft. Leave it pretty close to neutral, maybe a little bit above if you want to target surface ships. That way you'll target surface ships before you target submarines. So target prioritization really isn't too difficult to get a hang of. Naval movement, on the other hand, can be somewhat of a bitch. Now, I have this set up so that it will get within range of the 76 mils and stay about there. So broadside, or entering the broadside range and leaving the broadside range. Leaving the broadside range is the distance at which you will turn directly towards your opponent so that you can get closer to them, get within that nice, sweet broadside range. Broadside range is when this is activated. 0 is heading straight at your enemy, 180 is running away from them. So at 85, you're angling slightly towards them, so you'll keep getting closer, but you're still at a very nice broadside angle, so that you can get as many guns as you want, or as many guns as you can on target. And since the ship is pretty small and most of the guns have extremely good turret angles, I could have honestly done like 70, but I do want to maintain a fair bit of distance. And then broadest minimum range is the range at which you will turn 180 away from your target. It's the exact opposite of this. So these two set your combat range. Well, all three of these set your combat range. So this is your absolute minimum. This is your absolute maximum. This is your golden range, really. This is when you start to hit. Between these two is where you will be using this. And then depth requirement, this is if you want, say you're using a submarine. This is the most important one for a submarine, honestly, because this will make sure the AI doesn't map you onto a beach, pretty much. And then turning circle, it's kind of useful, but honestly, most of my small ships will just have little numbers, so stock number is 100 meters. But say you have a battleship, you're going to want to throw that up to probably the maximum. Disable reverse is extremely useful for hydrofoil ships and submarines and things like that. Anything that uses hydrofoils to either keep itself balanced or raise itself out of the water for more speed, you absolutely want to turn off reverse. This little guy does not use hydrofoils, it's quite well balanced, so it doesn't affect this one. But that's pretty much all there is for internals. One last thing though, we are going to come up here and give the Project 17 a nice little test. It's quite stable ship. It doesn't seem to have many issues when it comes to stability or targeting or really anything, due to the placement of the rudders, which are pretty much directly behind the center of mass. It doesn't keel over, it doesn't create list, so the guns can stay on target for quite some time, and it is very nice. Now we're going to quickly show off just what this fat lard can do. So we have the white tracer of the 76s, we have all the wonderful missiles, and all the standard damage dealing shells. So you can see all the 180 frag that misses, but you can also see when the 76 hits, it's absolutely devastating. And here come the anti-aircraft missiles. I apologize for the interruption, but there we have it. The ADS Project 17. Entirely completed, all ready to go, and prepared for the start of Generation 8. Thank you all so much for joining me in this series. I hope I taught a little bit. I'm sorry I'm winded right now. But if you have any further, I guess, tutorial ideas or anything, I will be looking for anything to do. One idea was kind of speed builds, but not really speed builds. So it'll just be cutting between stuff, because when I do builds, I am not consistent. I jump all over the place. It would get really sickening to look at in fast motion. But anyways, guys, that is all the time I have for this episode, and this may be the temporary end of how Dim does it. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next series.